Da, 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 da. Welcome y'all to the Bees Needs Variety Show.
No, it's not the Bees Needs. It's not the Bees.
It's not that at all. Stop it, Jess. Stop. You're not important.
Bentley, get there. Oh, Jess is gone for the rest of the show.
She's dead now.
Sorry about that, folks. This is not the Bees Knees Variety Show. It is the Reed Bentley and Nick Maniwa Variety Show. I am Pro Wrestling's BFF, Nick Maniwa.
I am Reed, by God, Bentley.
And this is our very special all TPI edition of the Variety Show.
Yep. And that's not Todd Pettengill. Ted Petty.
Ted Petty, yeah. Not Tom Petty either.
No. Or his Heartbreakers.
Right. We have our fantasy line. I was trying to say lineup and fantasy at the same time.
Fantasy lineups.
But we also have a lineup that I pitched to Ian earlier this year as just like, hey, I know you said you're going to do TPI. Here's some ideas. And we're going to read those off as well. Plus, we're going to show TPI 13 next weekend, next Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, this is, today is Wednesday?
It is Wednesday.
We have a mere 9 days until night one of TPI. 5 years, man. 5 years since the last TPI.
14 big matches. The show's opening up with Andrew Everett.
Let's be honest, I mean, it's IWA, so there will no doubt be the 14 announced matches already, and at least 2 others.
Someone might ride in the car with someone.
Yeah, it'll be 3 a.m. when intermission starts. The first intermission starts.
Right. First match is Prince Ali against Andrew Everett, and the main event is Drake Younger and Eddie Edwards. You cannot, have a better start to a show and a better end to a show, plus all the stuff in between.
Yeah, 12 more matches in between. I mean, honestly, if you don't think Ali versus Everett and Drake versus Eddie is going to be worth the price of admission on its own for night one, I mean, you're out of your mind, because Eddie Edwards has been absolutely on fire lately. Drake Younger, goes without saying, we said it a million times, is even more so on a roll. Ali and Everett, 2 of the best flyers in the Midwest, or Ali, one of the best flyers in the Midwest. Andrew Everett coming up here in the last 8 months.
Plus Ali's been looked at by WWE. Yeah. It's known, it's on the internet. So
yeah, he's got the look. I mean, Everett, it might just be that final kind of rub that Everett needs to really push all the way to the top of the indies. I mean, he's already got a lot of buzz since February, since National Pro Wrestling Day. But this might be that match, that tournament that he needs to really, really, truly break out.
We also got a bunch of fantasy lineups from our listeners. We're not going to say every single lineup on the show. We're going to actually make a separate variety show Tumblr that we're going to post everybody's brackets on and see, which one they like the most. Plus, have our own on there as well. And then people can vote for next week's episode which fantasy TPI was the best. So, Lane Smith, Mikey King, Jim Fannin, Thomas Green, Particle Don, everyone that sent in a fantasy TPI lineup, we appreciate it. They're not going to be just swept away. They're not going to not be used.
Yeah, they're not just for us to look at. We're actually going to go to a bracket maker, put all of them in along with mine and Maniwa's too, which we're actually going to read off to you on air, because we are both pretty proud of ours, I think.
Right.
So we're going to read ours off on air, and then the rest of them will be up for voting. And so if you didn't submit one to us, you done fucked up, because it's too late now.
But I think first we're going to read the fantasy TPI from, I think I made this in June or July of this year. And
I think it might have been, no, it was before that.
Was it?
I think it was before the June show even happened.
Was it?
I think we were just like, oh man, what if TPI happens? Let's,
Yeah. So, from the start, Andrew Everett and Ricochet was my go-to match.
Which would have happened had Mr. Ricochet not been in, he'll be in Japan.
Yeah.
I think he's in there right now, or he flies out this week, so.
Yeah, so, I really wanted to, a lot of people wanted to see that.
Yeah, I still want to see that somewhere, please, for the love of God, somewhere book that and send me a copy of the DVD.
No, book him on the show so I can come and watch it live. CWF Mid Atlantic or someone.
Yeah.
Stutsy.
Stutsy, we're looking at you.
Yeah. Next one is Kevin Steen versus ACH. ACH has never worked at IWA. That'd be a strong debut for ACH. Plus everyone loves Kevin Steen and everyone loves ACH. So that would have been a hot, this is your chance, kid, make or break.
Yeah.
Jimmy Jacobs versus Trick Davis. See, I think this was after the Dream Show because I think that issue had started. That's why I put them in the first round.
Yeah, it must have been
It was
right
after. Eric Cannon versus John Gresham, which needs to happen somewhere because that match would be the shit. John Gresham's the man. Eric Cannon's the man. I need to see that match. Here's a random name for you. Reed Bentley versus Ricky Morton.
I was going to say, first of all, I'm offended you called me because...
I think Ricky Morton. I need Ricky Morton in my life, honestly.
I've said it a million times. Ricky Morton is the man. Like, as far as like your definition of what pro wrestling vet should be, I think it's Ricky Morton. Dude is, I mean, his seminars are super informative. He still comes out and kills it. Right before I broke in and debuted, this was like 2009. I went to some shitty show in Tennessee and watched him, well into his early 60s at that point, do a suicide dive in front of, maybe 80 people. It was a decent little crowd, but it was by no means, his like WrestleMania moment. And, suicide dive, diving off the top rope, just going in there, giving all kinds of, like young guys the rub. Like Ricky Morton is the man.
Yeah, definitely. I need Ricky Morton in my life. Darren Corbin versus Nate Webb, which would have been the comedy match. Of the tournament. It would have been a really fun match. Next match is another IWA debut, Johnny Gargano against Shane Hollister, which I think would be a first-time match. They have never wrestled before.
Would be really interesting. I think similar styles, but a lot of different stuff in the moveset.
Here's just like a rundown of the guys. As of June, it was 8 regular roster members. 21 guys had worked IWA Mid-South before. 3 total newbies, and 11 guys that had been in TPI.
Any winners? Did we have any winners in this?
Yeah, there's a winner. BJ Whitmer, who was a 2002 winner, against Eddie Edwards. Would have been an awesome match.
Yeah.
Dingo, coming out of retirement, semi-retirement, whatever he is, going up against 2008 winner Drake Younger, who Dingo would have, in my fantasy, he would have brought back the title, defended it through the tournament. I don't have second round, I don't have finals on this, so you never know what could have happened. Another fun match, Colt Cabana versus Marion Fontaine. I really like Marion Fontaine. Him and Cabana would have been hysterical.
Yeah. Fontaine doing really, really fun stuff right now at AAW, tagging with Lewis Linden.
Yep.
Been having like some really, really awesome
matches.
They're
the tag team champions as Kung Fu Manchu, and he also has that old-timey wrestling coming up in Ohio soon, which is looks like a super fun show. Zach Gowen versus Tarek the Great, 2 IWA regulars. Tarek the Great was in the 2002 tournament. And then the main event, Eddie Kingston versus Adam Cole, which I don't know if it's happened before, but it would be a really awesome match.
Yeah.
2 of the top guys on the indies today.
One of the prettiest dudes I've ever seen, and Adam Cole.
That's a good compliment to Eddie Kingston, but yeah, Adam Cole's a pretty man. So with that, that's our dream. That was my dream from June.
We've had a couple of other dream ideas that we've discussed that we won't put out on this episode necessarily because you never know what might happen in the world of professional wrestling. But I have my own perfect, in my head, total mark out fantasy idea of what I would like to see happen at TPI.
We'll probably have to go into that one next year.
Yeah.
It'll probably be like January or February.
Yeah, we'll have
to see who...
let the fallout of TPI happen.
Right.
See where the chips fall. See whether or not I assassinate Jimmy Jacobs on Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
And as of before the tournament this year, there's been, if my math is correct, 160 participants in every single TPI.
Total.
But with that, 93 different guys, different people, because Mickey Knuckles and Sarah Del Rey had competed in TPI. 93 different people had been in the tournament. And, that seems like a random number, but there's guys like Tank, who was in the 2005 tournament, who never did another TPI. There's guys like Brent Albright, who was in the 2006 or 7 tournament, that never did another TPI. And then there's guys like BJ Whitmer, who was in every single TPI, or almost every. I don't think he wasn't in the 08 one, but he was in almost every single one.
Yeah, BJ and Hero in like every single one.
Yeah,
Cannon, a heavy repeat.
Yeah, Chris Hero was definitely in every single tournament. BJ missed 08 because his hand was messed up from
And then you had like 06, the year where they brought in like 06 and 07 both, where like a PWG car came in like with a bunch of West Coast dudes that were only
not a car, plane tickets, a lot of plane tickets.
Well, yeah, a lot of plane tickets, quote unquote car. Right. Other one-time dudes like Eric Stevens, Ricky Reyes. Eric Stevens, a dude who me and Maniwa have been discussing lately, dudes that kind of just dropped off and like disappeared.
He's like a bodybuilder now. He got like super, like he was like a hoss. Yeah. He was like Michael Elgin, similar size, and then he like dropped a bunch of weight.
Yeah, he
was,
leaned
like, super
out,
skinny,
leaned out hardcore, and I guess you said he's bodybuilder.
Yeah, he's like a bodybuilder, or he's like a physical trainer or something in Florida, I believe. So you want to do? How do you want to do? Do you want to just do a rundown of the lineup for our fantasies, and then we go with the first round? And kind of go like, this is what I got, this is what you got, or do you want?
Let's go back and forth. Yeah, I'll do my first round. You do your first round.
Okay.
I want to go all the way through to my finals though. Like we'll still put our brackets up and let people go through them, but I want us to read how we have our brackets played out.
Okay. Well, let's just you go first, and then I'll go second. That way you can.
Okay. We'll do that then. My 24 participants. I'll just go ahead and read my first round out so that we can cut down on a little bit of time since we go notoriously long, since we go Chris Hero in 2001.
Matt Cage right now.
Matt Cage right now. My first round matchups are Eddie Kingston versus Nigel McGuinness, Trick Davis versus Chris Sabin, Eric Cannon versus Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe versus Drake Younger, El Generico versus Hallowicked, Ricochet versus Too Cold Scorpio, AJ Styles versus Chuck Taylor, Kevin Steen versus Nate Webb, Chris Hero versus Matt Seidel, Sarah Del Rey versus Claudio, Bryan Danielson versus BJ Whitmer, and Punk versus Delirious. I tried to book essentially what, like anyone who's fantasy booking, matches I would really like to see, and a couple of matches I've never seen that might have happened but I don't recall happening. And a couple of things that have happened before, but everyone would like to see again. Those being like Sarah Del Rey versus Claudio, two people who, for a multitude of reasons, had great in-ring chemistry, in my opinion. Punk versus Delirious, Punk's last IWA match. Calling back to that. And essentially, my first round breaks down to King over on Nigel McGuinness.
Over? Beats?
Yes. Eddie Kingston beats Nigel McGuinness.
I gotcha.
Trick Davis beats Chris Sabin. Eric Cannon beats Christopher Daniels. Samoa Joe beats Drake Younger. El Generico beats Hallowicked. Ricochet beats Too Cold Scorpio. AJ Styles beats Chuck Taylor. Kevin Steen beats Nate Webb. Chris Hero beats Matt Seidel. Sarah Del Rey beats Claudio. Danielson beats BJ, and Punk beats Delirious. I wanted to go like super involved and try to like book a couple of angles into mine, but time constraints and my notorious procrastination prevented that. But I still tried to book super good matches. I tried to look towards the second round. A lot of people don't realize or don't think, I guess, that TPI is not bracketed until the second round.
Right. He
takes everything from the first round, all the first round winners, and then he sets matches up for the second round. So there's no bracket for the first round.
Right.
So going into that, I have Joe versus Sarah Del Rey, which, to my knowledge, I don't think that ever happened.
It might have happened in, like, random California
BFE.
shows, but I've never seen that. That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, as well. Joe versus Sarah Del Rey. And then AJ Styles versus Trick Davis. There's a lot of guys I never saw. Trick worked, I feel, mainly versus IWA guys. Like, Trick wasn't necessarily the guy who worked a lot of
the names.
Names back in the day. So I kind of wanted to see Trick Davis run the gambit of like TNA guys.
Right.
We're like hot
Who
TNA
do you have in
guys.
the first round?
Saban.
Yeah.
And now AJ versus Trick in the second round. Then to Hero versus Ricochet, which would be fantastic. Hero was one of the best bases, still is. Ricochet would be able to do some crazy stuff. Steen versus Punk, which I don't think I ever saw that back then.
It might have happened
at like PWG, maybe.
Yeah, but I'm for my fantasy, I'm using the guys currently right now in the fantasy. So it's like,
oh, okay.
So like I'm using CM Punk right now.
See, I'm stuck in like 05.
Oh, okay. See, like I was thinking like CM Punk straight from WWE TV, Kevin Steen right now.
Yeah, which would be so much better. And then Cannon versus El Generico, which no doubt has happened, but is always quality due to perfect mixing of styles. And finally Kingston versus Danielson. Going into the semifinal round, I have Sarah Del Rey beating Samoa Joe.
Upset
from Sarah Del Rey. I don't think. What's the farthest that Nikki or Sarah went in the tournament?
Sarah went to like
semifinals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Claudio beat her to get into the finals.
Okay, that's what I thought. AJ Styles beating Trick Davis. Chris Hero beating Ricochet. Punk beating Steen. Cannon beating El Generico. And Kingston beating Daniel Bryan. Which leads to my 3 semifinal matches of AJ Styles versus Sarah Del Rey. Chris Hero versus CM Punk. And Eric Cannon versus Eddie Kingston. I had to book Hero versus Punk.
Of course.
Like, there's no way you can run a fantasy TPI and not have another, Hero versus Punk
not have
match.
them meet up somewhere.
Yeah, like it was impossible.
It would be criminal, yeah.
A couple other things I wanted to do different too. BJ is kind of, along with Hero, like Mr. TPI.
Right.
BJ's Mr. IWA for sure. So I had BJ out as like a first round loss, kind of a, not necessarily an upset because it was Bryan Danielson, but, BJ going out in the first round, which is something definitely that you don't usually see in a BJ Whitmer in an IWA tournament.
Right.
My finals comes down to Sarah Del Rey beating AJ Styles, 2 upsets. So first ever female in a TPI final. Hero beating Punk, and Eric Cannon beating Eddie Kingston. To lead to another callback to one of the biggest feuds in IWA, Chris Hero and Eric Cannon, with the third party of Sarah Del Rey involved. I have Sarah Del Rey out first in the finals, coming down to Hero and Cannon, with Eric Cannon winning the whole thing, winning this fantasy TPI, as he was at least 2, maybe 3 times in the finals. He was in the finals 2 years back to back, never won. So Eric Cannon would be my fantasy IWA TPI winner.
I like it.
I was a big fan of it. It was very much a fun thing to write out and to think about.
Because you got to think, 93 different people. You got to think, well, who do I want to see?
Yeah, there's so many different. I haven't got to look at all the fan submitted ones yet.
Right.
But man, I have absolutely no doubt that there's gonna be some awesome stuff on there.
And the rules were up to 4 WWE/NXT guys.
Yeah. Up
to 4 TNA, New Japan guys.
Yeah.
And you had to have 3 former winners. Yeah. At least 3 former winners. You can have as many as you want. Yeah.
Tag team.
So here's my first round. Here we go, folks. Drake Younger versus Chris Hero. Jimmy Jacobs versus Bobby Fish. El Generico versus Alex Shelley. Trick Davis versus Davey Richards. Matt Sydal versus Ricochet. Colt Cabana versus Eric Cannon. Mike Quackenbush versus Chuck Taylor, Chris Sabin versus Michael Elgin, Eddie Kingston versus Samoa Joe, Danny Daniels against BJ Whitmer, Kevin Steen and CM Punk. First round. And
Jesus.
AJ Styles versus Low Ki. So those are all pretty stacked. Some matches that happened before Seidel and Ricochet, Quack and Chuck. They were in that final together. King and Joe happened at Fight Sports Midwest. Danny Daniels and BJ Whitmer had feuded for a long time in IWA. Drake and Hero has never happened, so I wanted to switch some stuff up there. My second round goes Chris Hero versus Bobby Fish, Alex Shelley versus Trick Davis, which is a match I'd really like to see.
Yeah.
They feuded a little bit in AAW over the tag belts with Conrad Kennedy III and Chris Sabin. Seidel versus Eric Cannon, Chuck Taylor versus Chris Sabin, Samoa Joe versus BJ, another pair of guys that have a ton of history, and CM Punk versus AJ Styles. So that's
Joe and BJ definitely have some history. I was just talking to you the other night about the Hell Freezes Over match where Samoa Joe quite literally punts BJ's head into the 8th row of chairs.
Right.
Just absolutely unnecessary. Samoa Joe, I'm upset with you.
I tried to, when I was fantasy booking, since TPI 04 is like the pinnacle of TPIs, I tried to book as if that was what I was going for. I was trying to
with modern day.
Yeah, just with modern day guys and, how they are right now.
Okay.
Hero, the next round, Hero versus Alex Shelley, Matt Sydal versus Samoa Joe, and Chris Sabin versus CM Punk, bringing my finals down to Joe versus Punk versus Hero. And I thought that would be... in terms of TPI 04, I think that would have been on the level with, obviously Hero and Punk feuded forever. Joe and Punk feuded forever in Ring of Honor. Joe and Hero had issues in IWA, so it kind of, everyone meshes together. And I don't have an actual winner listed, but I was thinking as I thought about it, Chris Hero won Sweet Science in 2000, which became TPI.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe won a Strong Style tournament, stuff like that. Punk had never won TPI, so Punk would win my TPI.
Yeah, coming from like a fan perspective, when I first started this, I mean, immediately from who I was, enamored with as a fan, it came to like Hero, Cannon, Danielson, Punk, and Joe. Right. Those were like my 5 guys.
Because if you think about
those were the dudes that I was like, when I do my final, it's got to have at least 2 of those guys. And it was really hard to put Danielson and Punk out like earlier.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do some stuff. It's all fantasy booking.
Right.
Like, I kind of want to do some stuff that has never been done.
Because, like if you growing up as a kid watching indies, your guys, Joe, Punk, Danielson, and Hero.
Yeah.
And then, you got to meet Cannon. Once you got into wrestling, you became close friends with him. You're friends with him right now.
Yeah.
Currently, so, you got to appreciate his knowledge, appreciate his stories and stuff like that. So I think that kind of, you were like, I'm going to throw Cannon a bone here in my fantasy book and give him a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because when you look back, like, that was like the hottest time of IWA was when Hero and Cannon was happening. I mean, that was like...
Cannon was undefeated in Highland, Indiana. Chris Hero could not get a win
in Highland, Indiana.
So, I think, I want to say TPI 05 or something. If I think there was something where if IWA hadn't lost the Highland building, there was going to do TPI 05 there, and Hero was finally going to get all of his wins. I think Hero was going to win in Highland. It had to be in Highland, win TPI 05 by beating Cannon because, the feud or whatever, which I thought, would have been awesome.
I think I have heard that, yeah. That would have been absolutely...
That would have been the...
It sucks. Like, I think did we talk about this last episode? How, like, I feel like we did, or I just had a recent conversation with somebody about how, like, losing the Highland building, like, messed up a lot of like quality stuff at that time. There was a lot of there was a couple of angles that were kind of dependent on that familiar Highland crowd.
Yeah, the crowd, no matter what, Ian would run quad shots and, have crappy draws everywhere else, but guys knew, okay, we just got to get to Highland.
Yeah, we just got to make it.
There's going to be 250, 300 people, possibly more, that are going to make it worth it. The crowd was always hot. That's why Ian always brought in surprises to Highland. That's why, the first big show, Sabu was a random surprise.
Yeah.
And I believe on that show, it was Sabu against Danny Daniels against Kid Cash, who was another surprise.
Yeah.
And what happened was Nate Webb's making his entrance, waiting for his cue or whatever. Sabu opens the door of the locker room, the double doors. So people are like, oh, there's Sabu. Surprise ruined. Ha, ha, ha. And then for the three-way, Sabu and Danny Daniels are wrestling. Then Kid Cash's music hits. I think that's how it happened. And then Kid Cash comes out, and people are like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
That wasn't the surprise, which was awesome. Ian was always awesome at surprises. Candido came back at TPL 04, which blew people's mind. People don't know this because
even this year in 2013, June was big surprise of Drake Younger on the first show.
The funny story about TPI 04, Candido came in and came in for the Saturday shot. He was coming back that night to attack Ian in Steve Stone versus Ian Rotten to join the Fannin family. Well, Candido was there from noon until he did his spot in the match. It was before the finals, I think. But Candido wanted to watch wrestling so bad. He wanted to watch the show so bad. He had a mask on, or he had a bandana over his face, a hoodie on, and random clothes that no one could think that they're his clothes. And he was in the concession stand, just sitting in a chair, and wouldn't talk to anyone, wouldn't take orders or anything like that. He was just sitting there because he wanted to watch, the show so bad. And, just a little funny story about Chris Candido.
Yeah.
He finally, match comes. Ian goes out the side door after Steve Stone. Ian gets popped back in, and people are like, what the fuck just happened? No, he went after Jim Fannin. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Ran after Jim Fannin. He gets popped back in. People are thinking, oh, Jim Fannin just blasted him. It's not. It's fucking Chris Candido making his return to IWA Mid-South. And, the pop alone on the tape and on the DVD is crazy, just from seeing Chris Candido in all of his glory.
Yeah, I can imagine stuff like that too. I know we've talked a lot about seeing stuff on DVD from IWA versus you being there live. I have no doubt that something like that especially doesn't translate to DVD. It seems big on there, but everyone knows it's totally different being there live, in person, being in the ring, being in the crowd. It's, just 100% different when you're there live, physically hearing people. You can literally feel electricity.
Yeah, you can hear
air.
the rumbling. You can hear people just, stuff building up. And that's, if you can make, if you listen to the show, you obviously support indie wrestling. But if you don't make it to the shows, come out to indie wrestling, because there's stuff that you're not going to see on DVD. There's stuff that you're not going to hear on DVD.
Yeah.
For example, at the first IWA Mid-South show back, this guy completely ate shit, slipped on some wet, on the wet floor, and just completely ate it. And the camera didn't pick it up, sadly, but I saw it out of the corner of my eye and laughed hysterically at it.
Yeah. Live wrestling, obviously there's a lot of people out there. There's some of you that probably might even listen to this that aren't super familiar with indie wrestling, but you still follow it, or you follow us. You are mainly TV wrestling. That's what you know the most about. Please, when we say come out and support indie wrestling, that is a genuine, it's a genuine, honest, question that we're asking of you. Please come out, give it a try, and don't come out. Don't be the person that comes out and pays your $10 or $12 and just sits there on your hands and acts like you're miserable the whole time.
And don't be the person that chants you fucked up and stuff like that. That's not cool anymore. The what chants are not cool anymore. Yeah. Oh, God. That's like ear cancer to me.
But seriously, please, I hate seeing it. It genuinely angers me when I come out and I don't understand people paying their hard-earned money to come out.
On the other side of that, some people I've actually posted this on Twitter, and I've had a few people reply that they're so introverted, I guess, that they can't show that emotion outward, but they genuinely enjoy the show. They just can't relay that emotion out, which is understandable.
Which, yeah, I totally understand.
But if you can go to a football game or a basketball game and act like a fool, and take your shirt off and
think about it this way: if you come out and you are an introvert and you come to a wrestling show and that's your outlet, wrestling is what you love. Just imagine me being up there as a chubby white dude with a hairy chest in skinny spandex bikers. I look way more ridiculous standing up there in a wrestling ring doing what I do than you are ever going to look in the crowd, having fun, enjoying yourself. So please come out, react, do something, boo me, cheer me. Just don't physically assault
react.
me.
Well, if they want to stab you, good.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a gun pulled on me before, so just, whatever.
We have the TPI 13 to go down the lineup and stuff.
Yeah, we can go down the lineup for that.
But
everything's announced, right?
Everything is announced, but we can maybe talk about past TPIs that we enjoed. We have the full lineups here that we pulled.
Yeah, we've went into a decent amount of history just going over our brackets. Obviously 04, the pinnacle.
I've been to every TPI but 2005. I took a sabbatical from shows because I was literally failing high school. I barely passed
the whole thing. Failing the whole school.
I was failing. I passed algebra 2 or geometry or something with the lowest D- possible to get out of school, and that was even taking computer classes. You had to take do the work on the computer and stuff like that. That was even after taking that. Algebra and math just does not function in my head. So I missed TPI 05. I have seen it on videotape. I have watched it. Obviously, I've been to every Sweet Science. So, just that's only missing one tournament. That's there's been 7 TPIs. So it's 9 tournaments total. So I've missed,
7.
Yeah. And, obviously, I don't think you ever went to a TPI.
No, I never got to go to any TPIs, unfortunately.
Chuck Taylor was in the crowd for TPI 2003 in Salem, Indiana, just hanging out. There's been other random guys that came to shows. Was there any TPI that you saw on tape or DVD before you actually got into IWA Mid-South or anything like that?
I've watched all of them. Obviously, growing up, I was, super indie wrestling fan, so I've watched, all the tournaments, back when I was downloading them illegally on Kazaa, and don't do that. Buy DVDs. Don't be like Reed Bentley. Be better than me, which is not hard to do.
Right.
And I really liked. Honestly, there's nothing that I hated. There was some 02 was bad overall. It was not good.
That was still when people were trying to find their niche in indie wrestling.
It was that night, the first night. I think you submitted it to Matthew, the M-Dog and Punk match,
which is notoriously known for just those guys not clicking at all, despite having.
And then the next night, M-Dog had some a blowaway match.
He was in that awesome 4-way with Matt Stryker, AJ Styles, and Super Dragon, where he did the Sasuke special Rana onto Super Dragon, which people lost their fucking mind on. That was an awesome spot there. That 4-way, that's something I can't wait for TPI 13 to see the guys in the eliminated matches, because I heard maybe some young guys are going to be put into that. And, the young guys who aren't even in TPI, who aren't even on the show, are going to be looking to steal the show from all the eliminated guys. So
I know a couple of the guys that are in the night 1 qualifying 6-man.
Right.
And, it's no secret, Christian Rose is a good friend of mine, and he's one of the guys in that. Trick Davis, my tag partner. Gary Jay's in it. Matt Nix, Josh Crane. I know and 5 of the 6 guys in that match.
Right.
And, but, oh man, I know a couple of them have some crazy things. They're definitely some things they've told me they want to do, they want to try to do. It's going to be
I mean, they have to.
Yeah,
they have to try their damnedest because this is the tournament to be in. The only bad thing is for them.
People don't realize that nothing is set in stone at IWA.
Right.
When it comes down to night one,
right. The only bad thing for the play-in match is, at first they had Necro Butcher. Necro Butcher got injured. He's not in the tournament.
Yeah.
So now they have 6'6", 400-pound Congo Kong to go against.
Yeah.
Which, God have mercy on whoever's soul that has to wrestle Congo Kong.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen Congo Kong's moonsault. You know, I've seen people take that moonsault, and it's not at all anything.
Yeah, and I don't even know if people know he can do that or not, because I don't think he's busted it out
recently.
Often. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last time, originally I was supposed to wrestle Congo Kong at the 2011 King of the Death matches.
Right.
And there was a booking conflict. He actually he had already had a booking somewhere else, so he couldn't be there. That's how I got into the tournament, yada, yada. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be a crapshoot for whoever gets in there. Also, speaking of Necro, our thoughts go out to Necro. We still wish him a speedy recovery. As far as I know, he's doing okay. He's doing pretty good.
Better.
He's healing up quick.
He's got a lot of donations.
He's got he was plugging a new wrestling fed out there in West Virginia that's getting ready to start up. I saw him plugging it on Facebook the other day. So go check out Necro's Facebook. There's a promotion, an upstart promotion he's trying to help out. And also, BJ as well. Our thoughts go out to BJ Whitmer.
He just on Saturday, he vacated his Absolute Intense. I think it's the Intense title at AIW.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's him saying, well, I'm retiring. I think he's just kind of taking it slow to see what the doctors are saying. I think the doctors gave him the all clear, but he's just taking it slow. He doesn't want to rush back and cause permanent damage.
Definitely. It's not something where we don't want to see anything happen again with BJ like happened before, where he continues to work with these nagging injuries and then it ends up taking him out of the game for a couple of years.
Right.
Because BJ's definitely back, with a vengeance for the last couple of years. So we wish him and Necro both a speedy recovery. And it's definitely unfortunate we won't get to see you here in 9 days.
Right.
But we did have some quality replacements. TPI 13 this year. Stacked lineup. We've already mentioned the qualifying 6-man that will not open the show, I guess, but because Ollie and Everett's going to, but will be very early on. Myself versus Jimmy Jacobs in a first blood match, and then 12 first-round matches.
Right.
Do you have the list?
I think I have the list. If not, I can pull it up real fast.
Yeah, obviously we've already discussed the very first opening match.
Do we want to go back to... you said you saw all the you saw all the tournaments illegally and stuff like that.
Well, a couple of them legally.
Right. Do you want to talk about, the one match you saw? Because at 2002 TPI, Chris Daniels and AJ Styles had a match.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, up to that point, it was the best technical wrestling match that had ever happened in IWA. Ian said it on the mic afterwards. And, Ian gets a lot of... crap for all his post-match speeches where he puts over the guys. But you got to think, Ian's just as big as wrestling fan as we are.
Yeah.
He loves pro wrestling. He enjoys booking these shows to see stuff that he wants to see.
Yeah.
So when these guys are busting their ass and doing all these crazy moves and, having just the best match on the show, he wants to put them over immediately. He wants to put them over in front of the crowd, not just, hey, good job, kid. Way to go in the back. You know what I mean? He wants the guys to know that he appreciates them putting their body on the line and busting their ass.
Yeah, and that's what we should all do. Like, once you lose the love of professional wrestling, that's when it's time to hang it up, pack it in, get out of the business. I still enjoy watching wrestling. I still love. That's what a thing I've heard from not just you, but tons of people about Chris Candido was that he just loved wrestling so much. He just wanted to be at shows. He wanted to be around wrestling, watch the boys.
He wanted to help guys out so much.
Yeah.
He would give everyone critiques.
Genuinely, I think he was, genuinely, really enthused at TNA to be there with the Naturals, doing what he was doing there at the end. It was not just an on-screen thing.
Right.
Chris Candido just was a guy that loved wrestling.
Right.
For me, I was actually going to mention that AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels match because that was right around, what month was that? 02.
It was,
end of the year.
It was like
right?
November.
Yeah, it was closer when TPI was closer to the end of the year. So TNA had only been around for not even 6 months yet. And I'd like started watching the weekly pay-per-views. My cousin, he had satellite. We never had satellite. My dad still to this day has regular cable. He won't even go pay the $5 to get a digital box and get, extra channels and free on-demand programming and all this nonsense. He does not like change or upgrading. It was my junior year in high school before I got broadband internet. So, we always had regular cable, but my cousin had the illegal, hacked, zapped, satellite card. So we had 999 channels of direct TV pay-per-views. And one day we see this TNA thing. Like, oh man, what's this? So of course, we pay I think
it's like $9.99.
$9.99, yeah, to watch that. Because, periodically when you have that illegal satellite card, it gets zapped, and you have to actually pay for your pay-per-views. So we paid the $9.99, and for us being kids from the South, we were obviously WCW guys. We watched WCW way more than we did WWF ever, so seeing TNA, it was just like picking up where WCW left off. It was WCW Junior. And some of the first guys that stuck out to us were guys like AJ Styles, who we had seen at the very tail end of WCW as Air Styles, and newer guys like Chris Daniels, who at the time I did not realize was one of the conquistadors, from WWF.
He also had that's short WCW run where he did that moonsault.
Oh yeah,
and landed on his head.
He did. Oh man, I forgot. That.
Yeah, fucking. Almost
the OG Merrick Brave, and it was. So, for us, it was awesome. And, me moving into indie wrestling at that point, buying PWIs and buying almanacs and stuff like that and seeing talkings of, the stuff like IWA and ECWA and the Super 8 tournament and stuff like that. That year, it was just a continuation of that. I always bring up that, to me, AJ Styles was a guy who, no matter how big he's been in TNA, has just always really looked like he enjoyed wrestling on the indies.
Right.
Like he was a different guy. He wrestled like he was on TV when he's in TNA. And then I just watched Hell Freezes Over the other day, him versus Matt Sydal, and it was just like a different beast. AJ on the indies getting to be in such like a real person, genuinely interacting with guys. It was just
that
it was a totally different match. Like you saw a different AJ Styles. And I felt like that was definitely what we saw with AJ and Daniels.
And he always, every IWA show he did, busted his butt.
Yeah.
Always, kicked ass and was always super nice and super personable to talk to. I saw him at TPI one year, and then after that I went to a Ring of Honor show, and he walked by me at the Ring of Honor show, and I jokingly chopped him. And the guy that I was with, Chris, was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "Does he realize he knows you?" And he, AJ Styles kind of laughed it off. Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, he didn't punch me, so I think he's cool with it." And they were just blown away that he walked by, and I was just like, "Hey, what's up?" Chopped him. And just a random story.
Yeah.
He did not beat my ass.
Nick Maniwa, straight shooter.
Also at, not at TPI, but at a Highland show, I was just going around getting music from everyone. And I'm good friends with B-Boy. Oh
man, I know where this is going.
I go to the concession stand, and B-Boy is sitting in the concession stand talking to someone. And I say, "Hey, B-Boy, I need your music." And he turns around, and it's not B-Boy. It is Notorious 187 Homicide, who they don't look alike, but from behind with a bandana on, they look identical.
Yeah. And
I immediately was like, sorry, and just ran off and just played whatever I had for them instead of going back and getting stabbed by Homicide.
Oh, man. One of my favorite stories. I mean, 2006 was another tournament, too, that I really liked. Like, I just pulled the lineup up so I could go back and look at everything that I had kind of forgotten happened.
2006 also had that awesome comedy match on the second night with Chris Bosh doing the lion cock on every single person in the match.
Yeah, like that's actually one of the guys I was going to bring up. Chris Bosh was always, like, being a teenage kid watching indie wrestling, 15, 16 years old. Like at that point, some of the guys that I got drawn to were like funny, ha, this is wrestling, but it's not wrestling guys. So, you know, like Chuck Taylor, Chris Bosh, guys like that who in like 07 who were just...
And he's not saying like, oh, this guy's a terrible wrestler, but he's funny. Like, they just mixed it in. Nate Webb, people like that.
Yeah, like Nate Webb, Chuck Taylor, Chris Bosh, Cabana, Human Tornado.
Right.
Dudes like that who are just like, could genuinely get a laugh out of me.
Right.
You know, back in the day, there were like 24 videos on YouTube and 22 of them were wrestling. You know, so I mean, like, all I saw was Chuck Taylor scaring kids, you know, compilations and stuff like that. And Chris Bosh was a dude who, Chris Bosh has always just been able to get a rise out of me, and it's unfortunate he's not around wrestling anymore. Him versus Generico actually had like an awesome match, which I think, 15 minutes it says on here. So I remember that being a super long match. Generico, another guy who was always hilarious. The finals that year were absolutely, you know, ridiculous. What was it? Cannon, Loki, and Roderick. And just, I mean, Cannon took an absolute beating in that match.
And Roddy kind of took a beating too. Loki just beat the shit out of everyone, really.
Yeah, Loki was like killing Roddy. Roddy was like chopping Cannon in the face. You know, like there was just some crazy stuff. Loki, you know, was the winner in 2006. That was one of my favorite tournaments because 04 was obviously the pinnacle. You knew it was never going to get better than 04. But I felt 06 had a really solid, not just this is an indie wrestling tournament, but this is an IWA Mid-South show.
Right. Where
everything top to bottom is good. Storylines are played out through the tournament. Hero and Trick wrestled. So there was like good continuation. Night 2 of that year had some like really good stuff. It had that 6-team like battle royal that had like Corbin and Cruz in it, who were always really entertaining.
Was that the year for that had the Josh Abercrombie versus Tyler Black?
Yeah, the
match,
Loser Leaves Town. Yeah,
which had an awesome angle attached to it. Jimmy Jacobs actually ran in to help Josh win the match.
Yeah,
and then after that, Josh Abercrombie had sold his soul to the devil being Jim Fannin. And when Jimmy went for the hug, he held the hug on, and Bull Payne and me, Mitch Page, ran in and beat the dog shit out of Jimmy Jacobs.
Yes. Oh, man,
and people were pissed the fuck off. They were so mad at that. I think 2 people like ended up leaving the show because they were like, you shouldn't treat Jimmy like that. That's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. They were like really mad. But you know, Josh Abercrombie sold his friend out, sold his soul to the devil, Jim Fannin. And I think Necro Butcher came back as well in that angle, but I don't recall the exact details.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, if we might have to like watch some like TPI footage this week and maybe, you know, talk, because we'll obviously talk a little bit more next week about TPI since it's the final, you know, hash and shill. But yeah, there was it was always great stuff. Night 2 was always just as entertaining as night 1 because you got the continuation of the tournament, and then like you mentioned, there's always the great, you know, like loser 6, 8-mans, tag team matches. And yeah, 2006, in my opinion, was like a great year of
2007 had that awesome Chris Hero Eddie Kingston match where they just beat the crap out of each other, last man standing, which has, I think both men have gone on record and said it's one of their favorite matches against each other just because they absolutely killed each other. They like snapped a guardrail. They did a bunch of crazy stuff. And then following that, in 2008, Chris Hero had that crazy match with Trick Davis on night 2, which, again, awesome continuation of the storylines. You know, Trick Davis looked up to Chris Hero. Chris Hero turned his back on him. And then it was funny, in 2008, it was a role reversal almost because Trick Davis was the guy hated by the fans. Yeah. And Chris Hero was, you know, that's our guy. IWA and Chris Hero are synonymous with each other. And
by that point, they had turned on Trick.
Right. And Chris Hero was, people, I don't know, you know, obviously it didn't happen in 2008, but Chris Hero working all these places, they were like, oh man, he might be gone soon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, people were totally behind Hero and against Trick Davis, which is really weird to see a guy that's maybe 200 pounds, probably not even 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And Trick Davis at that time, he's way buffer now.
Oh, yeah.
Against the bigger Chris Hero, and Trick Davis is the one getting booed.
Yeah, Trick Davis not being the underdog was definitely that role reversal.
And they got that sick headbutt in the match.
Oh, man, yeah.
Smart Mark Video hooked us up with the slow-mo on that DVD, and it's just so
the
gross.
Slow-mo noise is almost worse than... No doubt, it was most likely Robles, as Robles is the man and gets all the best shots.
As well as Brian Cage is a fucking machine.
Yeah.
Because he will tape a show, edit it, and have it out by the time...
You guys remember when King of Trios 2011 dropped the day after the last show happened? Right. That's because of Robles.
They announced on Sunday that the DVD was coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow being the Monday after at 8 a.m. or whenever Smart Mark Video opened up.
Yeah. Robles runs on, much like myself, on, I think, caffeine and hatred. So, he just up for 14 straight hours editing.
All the guys at Smart Mark are freaking awesome. Glenn and Gary, Burns himself, Adam Lash, who does all the editing, does all the iPay-per-views. Those guys bleed indie wrestling, and if it wasn't for guys like them, indie wrestling wouldn't be half as good as it is, half as produced as it is.
Yeah, shout out to everybody at Smart Mark. Robles, Ivan, Andrew, Gary, everybody, like Burns.
Horsecock.
Yeah.
Jeff.
all you guys are great. Like, there's nobody at Smart Mark that I don't enjoy seeing when I go to shows. When I go to a Smart Mark taped show.
And guys are always, if IWA had their one cam shot going on, they would kind of mail it in. But if Smart Mark's there, even if the crowd's low, they're like, well, at least this is good footage.
Yeah.
This is Smart Mark exposure. They would always bust their ass for Smart Mark Video. So it was always good to see Smart Mark Video in the house.
Yeah. Smart Mark Video, always pulling it through. That's not to undercut our good friends at Swerve Video.
Right.
Who are currently the film crew for IWA. But there's a little bit of a partnership. I mean, Swerve and Jeremy Ping film the shows, and I believe are still doing the editing, but we still obviously use Smart Mark for distribution, I think, at IWA. So, everyone, it takes a town to raise a child, especially when it comes to
Tango for indie wrestling.
It takes
Tango and Cash.
Yeah, Tango and Cash. Cash Borden. Remember him?
Cash Flow.
Cash Flow.
Cash Flow was never in a TPI, but he had two awesome matches with Psychopathic Records trainee Psycho Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember this.
In 2001, Sweet Science 16, where Cash Flow did a leg drop off the top of the bleachers to the floor. And
the man is shitting blood to this day.
Shout outs to Cash Flow. He's an awesome dude.
Shout out to Cash Flow's anus for, retaining on the leg drop.
Right. I think he missed it the first night. It was like he pawed the dude on a bunch of chairs and missed it the first night, and then actually hit it the second night. Psycho Patrick hasn't been seen since, so he's just one of those dudes that just went away.
I think he is up Cash's butt. He went inside his anus on the leg drop.
Now we've kind of gone all over with the TPI stories and stuff like that. Now we can run down first round of TPI 13. If you want to follow along, as much as people are trying to make TPI 2013 happen as the hashtag, that is not the hashtag, because TPI 2013 goes to something else.
Yeah, it's TPI 13.
Right. TPI 2013 goes to something soccer related or something like that. TPI,
and there's a college thing too.
Yeah. TPI 13 had some other stuff in it, but it was older, from earlier this year.
Yeah.
So if you want to follow along with the tournament, hopefully people are tweeting the correct hashtag at hashtag TPI 13 for this year's tournament. Here we go for the first round. Dustin Ray's making his IWA Mid-South debut against a TPI vet and Roderick Strong.
Yeah, like we just mentioned, finals in 06. Been in 2 or 3 tournaments, I believe.
Yep. He was in the 04, 06, and 07, I believe.
Yep.
Maybe 08, but maybe not. I don't think he was in 08. I think 06, 07, and 04.
Yeah, he was in. Yep, you're right.
Roderick Strong hasn't been in IWA for a few years now. Dustin Ray's obviously never been in IWA, making his debut. These guys are heavy hitters. Dustin Ray's kind of relies on the flying a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of cut that down since he broke his leg at CZW Cage of Death, I think it was, a couple of years back.
Yeah.
But he's still doing the flying. He still does moonsault, stuff like that. He has that bionic knee, that bionic leg. He is the $1 Million Man.
Mm-hmm. And also a double underhook sit-out pile driver.
Yeah.
That he's used for quite some time.
Yeah.
So definitely he's Dustin Ray's is not a guy to be slept on just because he's a first-time entrant. He had a really awesome match with Jonathan Gresham right after the day after the June IWA.
June 16th.
Yeah. Jonathan Gresham, when he was back over here.
For Pro Wrestling Empire, now Pro Wrestling Rises. I believe that match will come out on YouTube whenever it gets edited, but it's definitely an awesome match. Went to a 30-minute time limit draw for the 0-1 junior heavyweight title, him and John Gresham, and it was just an incredible match. So Dustin Ray's is no slouch at all, and I can't wait to see the chops of Roderick Strong come back to IWA. It's been a minute, and he's one of the heaviest hitters that there is. Another IWA debut is WXW sending over Bad Bones to take on Davey Richards.
Yeah, which is definitely going to be just, speaking of hard hitting, it's just going to be ridiculous.
Right. I don't know if these men have met before. I assume they have in WXW.
At some point.
Davey Richards, kind of an asshole at the last show, to be honest. Trying to start shit with Necro Butcher, trying to start shit with Scotty Vortex, kind of just being an asshole.
Yeah, he had a really great match with Scotty and just couldn't leave it at that.
He almost ran over James Christopher, my nephew. At one point, Davey Richards ran out of the ring to get away from Scotty Vortex, and James Christopher was just casually walking by and didn't realize that he almost got taken out by the American Wolf, Davey Richards.
Yeah, James Christopher never one to realize that he is not the focal point of every wrestling show that he's at. But yeah, thanks again to WXW for sending us Bad Bones over that. It's going to be an
shout
awesome
out to
match.
Felix and Taz and all those guys over at WXW. Some of the best wrestling in Germany, probably the best company in Germany.
Hands down.
I would love to attend a show and just take in that atmosphere of all the people on the ring.
Yeah, had a great 16 carat this year. Had a great tournament themselves.
Another match opening the show, we've talked about it, Andrew Everett and Prince Mustafa Ali. We don't really have to say much about this one. We've kind of already talked about it, built it up in our own heads, on the podcast the last couple times, so don't really have to talk about it, but Andrew Everett just had an awesome match with Drew Gulak for Beyond Wrestling, and it showed that he doesn't have to rely on just the flying. He was mixing it up with the match. Drew Gulak's another awesome dude that I hope to see around IWA.
Yeah, Gulak would have been a great addition to TPI this year.
I think I think someone pitched him. I think we both kind of pitched him.
Yeah, I think we pitched that as part of an East Coast card.
Yeah, CZW World Champion, that doesn't come an easy task, especially beating Masada for it. So shout outs to Drew Gulak. But I cannot wait for this match of the High Flyers, Prince Mustafa Ali and Andrew Everett. I'm glad Colgate Gym has a
tall ceiling. That's what he's talking about, because they're going to do lots of high flying.
I was going to say high ceiling, and then I was also going to say tall ceiling, and it mixed up with tie.
Yeah.
But
so
anyway.
Thank God they have a tie ceiling so that we can see double moonsaults and inverted 630s and springboard death.
Right. Another first-round contest. All these are first-round contests, obviously. Kyle O'Reilly versus B-Boy.
That's honestly might be the first round match I'm most looking forward to. It's definitely going to be the dark horse, I think.
Yeah, I think people.
O'Reilly just won Bola. Had a match that B-Boy himself actually hyped up as the best thing he's ever seen live versus TJP at PWG 10 last month. So I mean, definitely O'Reilly's on a roll. B-Boy's
definitely looking forward to this match,
especially
the
coming
6-man
he was in at 10. was
It was
real.
on point. It was awesome. It was him, Candice LeRae, and Willie Mack against Ryan Taylor, Peter Avalon,
and Joey Ryan.
Joey Ryan, of course.
Yeah.
PWG, hopefully IWA can beat him in the fun 6-man, multi-man type contest on night 2, but PWG just has awesome opening the show, 6-mans and 8-mans and stuff like that. Just total fun.
Yeah.
Total fun. Keep wrestling fun, and that's what
the crowd gets into it. Like all the guys involved. Like,
Candice LeRae's fine as hell.
Yeah, she had that real good Game Boy gear. Just Bee's Knees just threw her phone.
She's dead, remember?
Yeah, she's dead. From the grave. She just
Candice called me.
Yeah, Candice LeRae. We're looking at you.
First round contest: Eddie Edwards versus Drake Younger. Another match was hyped up. People called this the Indie Dream match they didn't know they wanted until it was announced, which IWA is awesome for doing, especially in TPIs and big shows like that. You know, they book all these random matches, and you think, who would have thought?
No, Eric Cannon, we don't need a Snapchat from you right now. We're trying to talk about TPI.
That you're not in, you asshole, you loser. But yeah,
nerd.
This match, me and GK, Chris Ayers from Cincinnati, are going to be handling the commentary, and we both know we're going to have no voice after this match because we're just going to be losing our freaking mind.
Yeah,
at this main event contest
at 3:23 a.m. when it goes on.
BJ Whitmer sadly injured. He was supposed to take on Christian York, serial killer Jack Thriller. Man, I'm stumbling all over my words.
Yeah,
I think I'm drunk. I'm on what Jonah Hill had on the James Franco roast.
Yeah, you're drunk on that bacon and eggs that you made us before we recorded this podcast.
Serial killer Jack Thriller takes on almost called him Christian Rose.
Christian Rose.
Man, I'm drunk.
He wishes. He wishes that he was already in.
Christian York has never worked IWA Mid-South before, but has
never worked there.
Wrestled there.
Never built carpentry there.
He's never worked for the promotion of IWA Mid-South. That's what I meant.
Christian York, yeah, obviously another guy too that coming into this has not necessarily IWA history, but history with Ian.
Yeah, Ian
York and Matthews were coming up like later ECW days out on the East Coast. So he's a guy that has.
They've been around since like the early '90s.
Oh yeah,
he's a 20+ year veteran, and Jack Thriller undefeated since
fresh
IWA's
off of that hot TNA run.
Christian York.
Yes, not Jack Thriller. Fresh off that TN awful run.
Jack Thriller straight off that POG.
Straight off that Dan Severn tip.
I believe he beat Dan Severn in his retirement match.
Oh wow!
So Dan Severn does not pro wrestle anymore because of Jack Thriller, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I would not do that.
Yeah,
Dan Severn could literally look at me and make something on me break.
Right. So maybe people think Jack Thriller is just some chump or something, but he
beat the man beast.
Yeah. So you never know what could happen. A match I'm kind of looking forward to, Lewis Linden. Kind of looking forward to. I'm looking forward to all the matches, but a match that I'm looking forward to definitely is Lewis Linden against Michael Elgin.
Yeah. Lewis
Linden has been tearing it up, and I want to say he's kind of underrated right now. I think he tears it up, and people don't realize he's tearing it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it. I want to say on the podcast, I know we watched it together, was Shug Shane Hollister versus Lewis Linden at AAW from a few months back. It was stellar. It was, I don't think anybody expected that to be as good as it was.
Right.
Lewis Linden had Scarlett Bordeaux down at one point getting ready to spank her on her rear end. And Shug just comes out of nowhere, literally out from the side of the screen, and just super kicks Lewis Linden's head off. It was the meanest thing. He went in one ear and his foot came out the other side.
That's a fact. Michael Elgin, you know, you don't have to read down his credentials or anything. He went to the finals of Bola this year.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly beat him, so he has something to prove. He has something to show the IWA crowd. This is his first show back.
He's been killing it, best shape of his life, at having good matches everywhere. He came in and had, like about 3-4 weeks ago, had a match at EPW in Clarksville that I know we've talked about against Simon Says. He could have came in for 8 people and just said, I'm not doing anything. I got to wrestle PWG the next night. But he came in and still killed it, so no doubt.
Killed it, and then killed it the next night at PWG against AR Fox, which, you know, was an awesome match.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. Order PWG 10.
Yeah. Next match, IWA Originals, kind of. Definitely original with Isaiah taking on the light heavyweight champion of Devin Moore. Devin Moore, not a homegrown, but has definitely morphed into an IWA guy.
He has been welcomed to the family.
Right. He has been here since 07-ish or so. And
Devin Moore, a dude also who has been killing it lately. He had an awesome match at CZW.
People want to give him crap for stuff that he's done in the past and stuff that, you know, matches that he's had that hasn't been, you know, awesome or whatever. Devin's killing it. Devin always kills it. Him and Tremont had a good match at the last show for IWA. Him and Jimmy Jacobs had a solid match at the June show, but I think the crowd was so dead just from it being so hot and so many people in the arena. I think the crowd kind of suffered just from being tired because that match was kind of late in the card.
Yeah, the fans kind of disappointed, in my opinion at least, the fans sort of disappointed with their weapons at that fan bring.
Oh, at the fan.
Yeah, like they weren't, you know, it was a lot of tack stuff. I had heard, you know, rumblings, funny story had been that there was going to be an electric weed whacker brought to the July show.
Oh, yeah?
And Devin Moore had caught wind of this and said that he was going to plug the weed whacker in and chase after Tremont, only to have it come unplugged after a few feet.
Oh, fun times.
And then throw the weed whacker at Tremont. Unfortunately, nobody brought that electric weed trimmer.
I'm not sure if the light heavyweight title will be on the line, but Isaiah has something to prove. He's never been in a TPI. He was in the Sweet Science 2000. Lost in the first round. So he definitely has something to prove. You know, he's been making a name for himself around here for a while. And, you know, he lost to John Gresham at the last show. And what did he do on the first show?
He was in... I don't know, what was he in? Was he in the... He was old school 6-man?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't in that. I don't recall. It's not important.
Order the DVD.
Yeah, there you go. It's on smartmarkvideo.com. Next match, a match I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing this guy, period. My good friend Eddie Kingston, the War King, taking on Christian Haim. Christian Haim, never been in a TPI before. He has a lot to prove against TPI vet of 2 TPIs, I believe, 07 and 08. I want to say. Eddie Kingston making his IWA return after the last time he was here. He won the IWA Mid-South World Heavyweight title on the 500 show.
Yeah.
Some stuff came up. He wasn't able to return, and this is his big return to IWA Mid-South. Was he in 07 and 08? He's right there.
He was in 07, and he was in
08.
Yeah.
Okay.
You listed him as King once and Eddie the second time.
I know. I noticed that it kind of messed with like my OCD.
Yeah, Kingston is another dude. I could say this. It seems like I'm saying it about a lot of people, but man, is Eddie Kingston on a tear. He's in probably the best shape I've ever seen him in. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's looking real good, having good matches at AAW. So he's definitely branching out and kind of going more places than he has been in recent time. There was a point where Eddie Kingston was that dude who was everywhere.
Yeah.
And then he kind of backed off and kept it more Chikara based, pretty much.
He is the Chikara Grand Champion. I don't know what he gets for that. Maybe like a Crackerjack prize for that now.
He gets one of those assemble-it-yourself wooden airplanes that breaks after one fly. Definitely Kingston's been absolutely just murdering it lately, and I think he might try to murder Christian Haim.
The marathon
Which is hard to do because I've seen Christian Haim almost fall to his demise only to get up and come back to wrestling 3 or 4 months later.
It was a while later. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he came back quick. Either way, he came back. He almost died, but he didn't.
Yeah. Next match, Brian Skyline won the Pick Your Poison match at the last show, Simply the Best 9. he picked his poison to be a TPI spot against Flip Kendrick, making his IWA debut. Flip Kendrick.
Mm-hmm. He looks a bit like Homicide in that picture. Homicide must have a familiar face.
I guess so. Brian Skyline, a lot of people were second guessing this pick of Ian's. You know, he won the match. He got to pick his poison, but a lot of people were like, "Man, has Brian Skyline gotten a lot better or something recently?" People were like, kind of shocked that he's in the tournament, but you can't. The guy was trained by Dan Severin. He was trained by the House of Truth.
Yeah.
He was trained by a bunch of good guys. You know, he just needs that one breakout match to not just be, he's the scrub that came with so and so.
Yeah, I mean, he looks to be in killer shape too right now.
Yeah.
He's definitely, he's out there. He's applying himself clearly. So, I mean, this is his definitely his opportunity against Flip Kendrick to prove anybody that doesn't have the faith in him to prove him wrong. The next match.
It's actually Todd Morton.
Oh yeah. This has been changed.
Just
right?
Incredible. Sadly understood that TPI is a Friday Saturday. He thought it was a Thursday Friday for some reason. So Just Incredible will not be on the show. It has been announced. Just Incredible took a booking in Mexico on Saturday, and his reasoning was, "I'm 39 years old. I might not ever make it back to Mexico, and it's an iPay-per-view. I'm sorry, Ian. I'm really sorry, but I got to take this." Ian understood. I believe Just Incredible is going to come to IWA Mid-South in the future, but it was
definitely nothing you can begrudge him for. Totally understandable.
It was supposed to be him against Chris Hamrick, but Todd Morton has got his spot back in TPI, and Chris Hamrick got a spot back in TPI. There were some issues there.
Either way, they're going to get what they want. They're going to get a hold of each other in the tournament. So not only whoever wins is going to get,
he left him bleeding at the last show, man.
Yeah, I mean he was first show that was nasty ass pile on the floor.
If you have the first show, Old Scars and Bad Blood, watch the Chris Hamrick match. Watch afterwards. Todd Morton attacks him from the back and just power drives him on his head.
Yeah, just literally picks him up and drops him, just with no care.
And then left him bleeding at the last show. Chris Hamrick wanted a piece of Todd Morton's ass, and he's going to get it at TPI.
And he might also get to advance to the next round of TPI, too, so he's going to get his hands on Todd Morton and potentially, win TPI.
Right, yeah. We don't have to talk about Chris Hamrick. 20-plus year veteran. He was in WWE, wrestling X-Pac, or 1-2-3 Kid in Raw in 93, so he's been around the block a couple times. I mean, people saw it on Facebook. There were some issues with Chris Hamrick and IWA. We're not going to talk about those, but I mean,
they've been settled.
He's
going to be there.
He's coming back, so I'm glad to see him back. I'll honestly say, I saw him on the first show booked, and I was like, oh, that might be a waste, because Chris Hamrick's an awesome dude and an awesome wrestler, but I didn't think he was needed on the first show. He came back, especially being in a random 6 or 7 man scramble.
And I hadn't seen him do honestly that much since like Wrestling Society X.
Right, he hadn't done a ton of stuff, and then he comes back and blows everyone away.
Yeah, steals the show.
The show. People are chanting his name. I was wrong on that one, folks. I'll just say it like that. I was totally wrong. Chris Hamrick is a welcome addition to the IWA locker room. Next match is the winner of the play-in match will take on Congo Kong for the last match in the tournament. Not the last match on the show.
The last spot.
The last spot, yes.
Yeah. As we mentioned before, that is Christian Rose versus Matt Nix versus Josh Crane versus Trick Davis versus Gary J versus Blake Steele.
No, not Blake.
Okay. And that's going to be definitely an interesting, fun match to see. Matt Nix is a guy who works for R Pro, Dreamwave. He used to work for Insanity. He worked a couple of times at IPW. I wrestled with him. Good dude. Christian Rose, a guy I travel with often, one of my wrestling brothers. He is making a lot of waves. Dreamwave is mainly the place that he has been featured at prominently lately. Undefeated for almost 2 years at Dreamwave.
So will that come down to TPI? Will that come down to Clarksville in his car, in his beat-up car? And will that undefeated streak take him to the TPI finals.
Yeah, I mean, and now featured at AAW versus Mark Brown, Merrick Brave,
Right.
and Josh Crane, a student of Drake Younger, who we are both huge proponents of.
Yeah.
Josh Crane is the definition of what a green guy in the wrestling business should be. Trick Davis with tons of IWA history, tons of TPI history. Gary J.
Gary J's one of the guys that people wanted so bad.
Yeah, he's
So many people.
by far and away the vote leader.
Yeah.
Um,
It was him, Christian Rhodes, and then Matt Nix, I think, were the top three
mhm.
in vote leaders, just because they had anyone and everyone voting for him. Gary J was having people from St. Louis to Texas to everywhere
There
that
were
he wrestles.
news articles about
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Josh Crane was kind of a last minute. He kind of pulled out of the back. It was an Anthony Lee guy out of Indy. He's mainly an Indiana guy. He was in that 4th, 5th spot. Josh Crane passed him up, and the 6th guy, Blake Steele. And so it'll be a fun match. Lots of good dudes.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who's going to pull out of that one. And then, hopefully, for their sake,
They survive Conga Kong.
they're not so beat up that it's not just Congo Kong clotheslines them and it's over. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you've got to think about that too, folks. I mean, wrestling twice in one night, like in a rough 6-man where there's going to be a lot of crazy action, and then going on to Conga Kong.
Right. Next match, a match you're familiar with because you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Reed Bygone Bentley taking on the Zombie Princess, Jimmy Jacobs, in a first blood match. Jimmy requested this match at the last show.
Yeah. Not the wisest thing for Jimmy Jacobs to do, if you ask me. I have 22 months of pent-up aggression against Jimmy Jacobs. We have
Well, let's tell a story. We got time.
we have a long and storied history that started out in IWA. Honestly, it's longer than 22 months. As a kid growing up, Jimmy Jacobs was a guy I idolized. In my opinion, to this day, there's still no one better at what they do. There's no one better when there's emotion behind something, when he has a reason to care about wrestling. There's no one better. His feuds against B.J. Whitmer, Colt Cabana in Ring of Honor, his stuff in IWA versus Alex Shelley. He was a guy that I really looked up to. I idolized.
Because Jimmy's a smaller guy. You're a smaller guy. You're 5'10". Jimmy's about the same height. That's a guy you have to look up to because look at this guy. He's my size and he's made it. He's done all this stuff. He's been to Japan. He's been to Germany. He's been to Ring of Honor. He's been everywhere. He's been to WWE.
Breaking into wrestling, even at that point, I looked at him as a guy. He was at the point that I was at once.
Right.
I'm walking in the same shoes, in the same footsteps that he's walked in.
He wasn't always a zombie princess. He was jumping Jimmy Jacobs with a pogo stick. He was 15 years old doing shows, getting chopped by CM Punk, getting swirlies by CM Punk. I mean, stuff that's all out there. He's probably talked about it in the various shoot interviews he's done and stuff like that. So he wasn't always Jimmy Jacobs, this indie legend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at one point he was just a 15-year-old kid whose brother happened to, run a wrestling show, or happened to wrestle. He was where I was at one point. I wrestled Jimmy Jacobs in November, I believe it was, of 2011, at the November Rain show, I think it was, November Pain. And it was definitely not one of my finest wrestling contests. Jimmy Jacobs, from that point on, proceeded to let everyone know for the next year and a half that it was one of the worst matches he'd ever been a part of, and didn't have really anything positive to say about me, which, for me, it was distressing news because Jimmy Jacobs was, like I said, was a guy that I very much looked up to in wrestling. It came around to June of this year. I was coming back. I was wrestling a good friend of his, Zach Gowen, and I saw this as my opportunity to let Jimmy Jacobs know, to let Zach Gowen know, and to let everyone know that I'm not the same guy I was 22 months ago. I'm not the same kid that you're going to run roughshod over, and if you're going to have anything to say about me, you can say it to me in a wrestling ring, and we can take care of it there. Luckily, my good friend Trick Davis kind of feels the same way. He feels that Jimmy's a bully. He feels that Jimmy Jacobs doesn't exactly live up to the hype that people give him. So
that's a big statement right there.
And myself and Trick Davis, I mean, anything I say, anything he says, we support. We support each other's views on. It's gonna be. It's gonna be a fight. It's not gonna. That's an overplay. That's a played out terminology in wrestling. Is that it's not gonna be a wrestling match. It's gonna be a fight.
It is a fight. It's first blood rules, which means to win you have to bust your opponent open with your fist, with a steel chair, with a spike that Jimmy's known to carry in his boot.
Yeah.
You have to watch out for that. With so many weapons that you have to bust someone open. The referee does not call for the bell until there's plasma flowing down your head. Yeah. And
I can guarantee I've had a lot of experience in the world of physicality outside of professional wrestling, and I guarantee you can put money on it right now, to quote my good friend Matt Cage, that Jimmy Jacobs will not beat me at TPI. Jimmy Jacobs will leave there bleeding. He will leave there with red on his face. I can guarantee that.
Well, you heard it there, folks. I don't know. Don't bet against by God Reed Bentley. Reed by God Bentley.
Cutthroat Reed Bentley.
Cutthroat Reed Bentley.
Best kept secret in Midwest wrestling.
Is that a fact?
That's what people say. That's what I've said.
Multiple people? Or just you?
I mean, just me, but,
You're hoping it catches on.
I'm hoping it catches on.
Hashtag best kept secret in pro wrestling. Hashtag Barracuda Gang.
Hashtag pineapple watermelon.
I guess with that being said, we pretty much did everything. Don't forget, we are going to feature those brackets of everyone else.
Yeah.
All that Lane Smith, Particle Don, Mikey King, Jim Fan, and Tom Green, plus our own entries.
Thanks to all you guys. Thank you guys. And thank you to everyone. Like, I try, and me and Maniwa is much more available as far as it goes online. Like, he is much more able to respond and comment and receive emails and stuff. But you can talk and comment to both of us.
Right.
I try and go through and
Reed Bentley only follows 1,000 people on Twitter.
So it's down to 725, actually.
So it's kind of hard for him to get to everyone's tweets and to see them unless you actually tag him in it.
Listen, man, the internet is just full of Christy Mack's ass and lots of other things that I'm concerned with.
Right.
And that just happens to take precedent on my feed. I try and...
No, if it was all just like Christy Mack body part accounts that you follow, I'd be okay with it. But It's not. It's just like random fucking people.
Look, good chances are if you follow me, I'm going to follow you back because if you have an interesting tagline. But yeah, definitely. Like I said, I try and go through and like at least reply or like favorite everyone, just because I am genuinely glad that you took the time to listen, or that you took the time to let us know you liked it, you hated it, anything. So thank you very, very much for supporting us, myself and Nick Maniwa. We haven't checked like what's available on Tumblr, but hopefully it's something like,
I think I might just stick with the hashtag
bnmvs.tumblr.com.
Right.
Hopefully that's, I would hope, unless
Yeah.
bnmvs is some weird like foreign language word.
It's probably like some weird like pee porn or something.
Yeah, it's piss porn. Hashtag it's going to be watersports.tumblr.com for the Bentley and Maniwa Variety Show Tumblr.
Another plug I have to give is I will be on, it might actually be out by the time you listen to this, Fan to Fan with Kevin Ford.
Kevin Ford, another awesome dude.
He's on the Wrestlefolks Podcast Network. I recorded that on Saturday. And Fan to Fan is pretty much you telling your story, how you got into pro wrestling, why you love pro wrestling, stuff like that. So, me and Bentley talk about current events, stuff like that. If you want to just hear the history of me, how I got into wrestling, listen to that podcast, because it was kind of weird talking about myself and not shilling someone else.
Yeah.
Because I'm always trying to shill someone. My life for the past 3 years has been shilling Reed Bentley, no matter how much garbage he puts in the ring, stuff like that.
Just unnecessary. He means physically when I happen to like pick up a Pepsi bottle and drop it in the ring.
Jimmy Jacobs match.
It was totally fine.
But definitely listen to the Kevin Ford Fan to Fan on pwponderings.com, on the WrestleFolks iTunes. As always, Tom Green has a new episode of WrestleFolks out now, talking wrestling movies with Sean Collier, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know how you pronounce it.
Little brother of Dave Coulier.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I was
cut
hoping.
it out. I guess with that being said, is there anything else you want to get in?
No, I mean, eventually we will come up with our own little, with our own little Facebook Form Spring Words with Friends picture of Layla's ass moment, where we shill everyone. But like he's mentioned, Kevin Ford, Tom Green, Wrestlefolks, the PW Ponderings.
tinyurl.com/TPI13 for all your TPI info. If you're on Facebook.
Jess is expecting another shill for the wedding. She's expecting tinyurl.com/the
or the Maniwas.
Or the Maniwas. It doesn't matter. They're registered at Target, so if you want, go buy them something. I'm about to have an Amazon wish list, so you can go to that and buy me something.
I have an Amazon wish list, which people have used to buy me this microphone that I'm currently speaking on. Shout outs to Jim Fannin for that. Making the podcast so much better. To hit me up online, hit me up on social media at Nick Maniwa, Snapchat, Kick, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, literally everything you can think of. I'm really into Snapchat, so send me Snapchats. I work from midnight to 8 a.m., so I have nothing to do all night.
He's really into that BNMVSP porn he talked about before,
no,
too.
I'm not.
Same thing goes for me, not on the
He's into
P-porn.
P-porn.
I'm not into P-porn. All that social media, but I am at the Reed Bentley or Reed Bentley, however you want to look for me. I'm on all the same things.
Yep.
We are both up very late into the night, and we enjoy interacting.
Mine because I have a job, yours because you have insomnia.
Partially, it's the insomnia. He's not lying. So keep us entertained. We enjoy hearing from you. All those people we just shilled, thanks very much for supporting us. We support you. And so this is pretty much it. We're going to come up with a
hashtag BNMVS.
B
for everything.
B as in Bentley, N as in Nancy, M as in Maniwa, V
Yep.
as in variety, S as in show.
Yep. For all the questions, everything, we follow that on Tumblr, on Twitter, on Instagram. So you can tag us. If you don't want to tag our names, you can tag us with that. Tag us with Wrestlefolks. We follow all that as well. So, just hit us up. Let us know what you want to hear. We're going to do TPI, another show next week, mini show, and get into some viewer questions, stuff like that. So enjoy. Let us know what you want us to talk about, really. We can talk about anything. We didn't get to some questions last week, so we can get to all that as well. And thanks for listening, as
That's
always.
it. Thanks. Talk to us so we can talk to you. We'll see you next week.
You want to try to do a tagline to end it?
Tagline? Tagline? Like,
tag
in?
in? No, not tag in. Maybe like, if you like this podcast, give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.